Welcome to the TCC Library's online tutorials. In this tutorial, we will learn how to find sources for your health topic PowerPoint assignment for HSC 1100 Concepts of Positive Living. The best place to start your research on this topic is your library research guide. This is available on the TCC Library's website, but it's also available here in your Canvas course. On the front page, you can see library hours and contact options. Use links in this box to contact any TCC librarian, and use links in this box to contact your subject librarian. You can email me, set up an appointment, or contact me in Teams. Make sure to sign into Teams with your TCC email and password. You are required to find at least one journal article from the TCC libraries. To do this, you will search some of our library databases. Some databases relevant to your course have been selected for you and placed in this guide under Articles and Database. You can start with these and go to the full database list for more options. There are several other useful resources on this page, such as information on research articles and these videos. I encourage you to watch these if you are new to searching our databases, and this one if you are having trouble picking your health topic. We will begin with the Academic Search Complete database. This is a good multidisciplinary database with a variety of topics. I will search using the example topic HIV. Here you can see that this search gave us well over 200,000 results. This is way too many to look through, so we will narrow our search to make it more manageable. One way to do that is by using the limiters on the left-hand side of the page. I will select full text, meaning we will now only see results for articles that TCC has full access to, and limit the publication date from 2016 to 2021. In healthcare and medicine, something is typically considered current research if it's been published in the last 5 years. If you're researching something that doesn't change as rapidly and don't see a lot of search results for the last 5, you can limit to the last 10. I will also select scholarly peer-reviewed journals and academic journals, as this is the source type you are required to find for this assignment. This already brings us down to around 38,000 results, but that's still too many to look through. At this point, ask yourself what interests you within this topic. If you're not sure, you can skim through some of the subject terms beneath the article information here. You could be interested in HIV prevention, diagnosis, social stigma, or something else. I'm going to search for prevention and put that on the second line here after the and. We still have over 9,000 results, so we can add another term in the third box, such as a type of prevention, pre-exposure prophylaxis. If you still have too many terms, you can narrow it down further by picking a group you might be interested in, such as young men, young women, teenagers, or adults. Adding teenagers brings us down to 22 results, which is a much better amount to look through. Depending on your topic, you may not have to narrow your results quite this much. If you need to expand your results instead, you can do so by adding synonyms on the same line connected by the word or. For example, instead of just teenagers, I can search teenagers or youth or young adults. Putting these words in quotation marks searches for this phrase in this order. This brings me to 52 results. To access an article, click on the title. This brings you to an informational page, including an abstract or brief summary of an article. You can read the full article by clicking PDF Full Text on the left-hand side of the page here. You can download this PDF to your computer by clicking here. Next, we will go back to the detailed record and look at the tools on the right-hand side of the page. The permalink creates a direct link back to this resource. The link in the toolbar will not work. The site link provides you with an APA citation, but please keep in mind that this is a machine-generated citation and may not be perfect. You are always expected to double-check it against the APA resources in your research guide. The email link allows you to email yourself a copy of the article. You can also choose a citation format and send yourself the APA citation. If you can't find a good article in one database, we have many others to choose from. You will notice that this one, called Psych Articles, looks almost identical to Academic Search Complete. That is because the library gets access to them through the same company, EBSCOhost. However, while Academic Search Complete is multidisciplinary, PsycArticles contain only psychology articles. Searching this database may pull up some of the same results as Academic Search Complete, but it will have some different ones too. Some databases will look different, like Gale Health and Medicine, but they can be searched in a similar way. If I try the same search from Academic Search Complete in this database, I will get some different results. This database shows you only one source type at a time, so we are now viewing just journal articles. Other limiters, such as publication date, are on the right-hand side of the page. In the Gale databases, you can click on an article to read the full text. However, I recommend downloading the article. Sometimes this provides the article in a different format and contains charts, graphs, and other images not available on the previous page. As in Academic Search Complete and the other EBSCOhost databases, you can get the permalink, email yourself a copy of the article, and generate an APA citation. Remember that you will have to fix this APA citation using APA resources. APA references do not include database information or permalinks. Remove this link when including a citation in your PowerPoint. DOI, or Digital Object Identifier links, should be included. You may have noticed that when searching for journal articles, it's more effective to search the TCC Library's databases for a specific aspect of a health topic. This is because journal articles are written by experts for experts in the same field using a process called peer review. Experts don't need a general overview of the topic, so you will have a hard time finding this in academic journals. For a more general overview, you can search encyclopedia articles in one of our ebook databases, such as Gale Virtual Reference Library. This is in addition to, not a replacement for, the journal article that you will summarize for your PowerPoint project. In this database, it's fine to search for a general term like HIV. I recommend using the drop-down list here to select document title and setting the results to after 2015 before you search. This article, HIV/AIDS from the Sexually Transmitted Diseases Sourcebook, was published in 2016, so it's fairly current. It provides a comprehensive overview of this topic, and you can use the same tools to get a permalink, cite this article, or email it to yourself as discussed earlier in the video. You may also use web resources for this assignment as long as you also use at least one journal article from the TCC Library's databases. On the web, it's more difficult to know if what you find is reliable. You should at least pay attention to who publishes the website, who wrote the information you're looking at, when it was published, updated, or reviewed, and if it provides any sources to support its claims. For example, an article on HIV that is written by an immunologist, published on the National Institute of Health's website, and was last updated last year, is going to be fairly reliable and accurate. However, if you find yourself on Bob's website and can find out who Bob is, it's probably time to go somewhere else. If you are starting at Google, there are some tools you can use to find reliable websites. You can use cite: with a domain name to only get results ending in that domain, such as cite.gov, which will show you results from only government websites. We see here that the first result is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and at the bottom of the page, we can see when the information was last reviewed, and that the CDC is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This information comes from a trusted government entity and was reviewed recently, so we can be reasonably sure that we can trust and believe what it says. You can also search any of the websites linked under Web Resources in your research guide. I recommend the CDC or Medline Plus. Medline Plus provides consumer health information from the National Library of Medicine. The information on this site is reliable and easy to understand. A search for HIV brings up many results. At the top, we see the summary page containing basic information and additional sources linked at the bottom of the article. Unlike articles in our databases, websites don't typically come with citation generators. There are some online you can use, but as websites don't come in any standard layout and may be missing citation information, these are typically less reliable. If you would like to use a citation generator, I recommend zbib.org. This site is part of Zotero, which is open source and does not contain any advertisements. I will use this page from the CDC as an example. Click Cite to generate a citation, and make sure you change the default citation style to American Psychological Association 7th edition, as this is a style you are required to use for your PowerPoint. You will see a notice here about sentence case, which will be helpful when formatting your citations. This citation contains errors, but is a starting point you can use. To fix your citations, you will use the APA Research Guide, linked from the Research Guide in your Canvas course shell. There are many useful guides and tutorials on this page, but an easy way to check your references is by comparing them to the APA reference examples. These are provided by the American Psychological Association, so you know that you can trust them. Identify what types of sources you're using so you know which reference examples to use on this page. To check a journal article, click here. Look at the example and read the explanation beneath it. Pay attention to punctuation, italics, and capitalization. Remember not to include any database permalinks or other information in your references. To check my web page citation, I will scroll down to Web Page on a Website References. Since I know I'm using a source from the CDC's website, I will select option 3, Web Page on a Website with a Government Agency Group Author. By looking at this example, I can tell that the one automatically generated by ZBib needs some work and additional information. We can find this by going back to the web page. The page title is About HIV, and the government agency listed at the bottom is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Here is the ZBib citation and the corrected citation. Since there is no personal author, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is credited as the author. Next comes ND for no date. Only publication and last updated dates count for APA references. Last reviewed dates do not. After that, we have the web page title About HIV. Web page titles are italicized. Then we have the government agency's name, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Finally, we should include a retrieval date before the URL. This is only required for web pages that don't have a publication or last updated date. If you need more help with finding sources and citations, please contact a TCC librarian. As a reminder, your subject librarian's contact information is located on the front page of the Library Research Guide in your Canvas course shell.